Courtside of the virtual hardwood, it's the NLSC Podcast. This is episode number 445. Welcome, basketball gamers, to a show where we talk all about basketball gaming. We meaning me, Andrew in our forum, and Andrew NLC on Twitter. I'm also joined as always by Derek. He is D3 in our forum and D384 on Twitter. Derek, good to be doing this show with you as always. What's new?
I'm happy to be here. As far as what's new, I actually have a new retro pickup that I'm pretty proud of, Andrew.
I'd love to hear about a new retro pickup. I haven't had any myself in the last few weeks at least, so what'd you get?
So I know that we're going to be talking a lot about NBA 2K23 on this episode of the NLSC Podcast. However, I did pick up NBA Starting 5 2005, which was never released in the US, and I ordered it off of eBay. I think it was around $20 total, including shipping, and had it shipped to me from Japan. And it got to me in absolutely flawless condition. Like, I can't even tell you, like, this is sealed. It looks absolutely excellent. And for those who are unaware, this game is one of, if not the first game, to have classic teams. You know, like how we have classic teams in the newer 2Ks and whatnot. This game has all the current teams, but it also has, like, you know, they have the 80s Celtics. It has 80s Lakers teams. It has a whole bunch of classic teams. I believe it has a Bill Russell, Sam Jones team in there from the 60s. And it is damn cool. Is the gameplay rough? Absolutely. The graphics, though, for PS2 are pretty good. And they even have some signature stuff in there, like Kareem's hook and whatnot. But yeah, this game for PlayStation 2 has classic teams.
And it's funny because Live had the Legends at the time and the all-decade teams, and 2K was doing the same thing, and Live had its Legends pool, which was pretty unique to it. And then all of a sudden, out comes NBA Starting 5 2005 with these full classic teams, which we wouldn't get in 2K for, another 6 years, another 5 or 6 years or so. It's very cool. As you say, the gameplay is kind of rough. It's cool that you got it from Japan, where it was, as you said, an exclusive. And I have to ask, because my listing for NBA Live 2002, when I got Live 2002, the Japanese version with Wizards Jordan on the cover, came from Japan. And also my Japanese version of NBA Street also was sourced from Japan directly. And they were fairly priced, as yours were, but they were also listed as being in good condition. And when I got them, they were just pristine, as yours were. I just feel there's some great service from these Japanese eBayers, underselling their product, quite frankly. The great service, sending me these great copies with plastic on the cover, you know, sealed or whatever. Just fantastic condition and great collectibles.
So yeah, my copy, I believe, also said it was being sold in good condition, and I got it. And this thing was not only a sealed copy; it was like double wrapped. It was in just awesome condition, and the seller left a great note with the package. And they also messaged me on eBay, you know, thanking me for my order. And it wasn't just a generic thank you. It was like an actual message, like with some thought into it. So I thought that was really cool. And I'm really glad to have that as part of my collection.
No, that is really cool. And you always appreciate the people going above and beyond as eBay sellers. I've had a pretty good run buying things off eBay, but a couple of people, they really could have stood to improve their customer service.
Yeah, I think I've picked up a few games from eBay where they said it was in excellent condition or very good, and then I got it, and there were stickers on it, like a bunch of stickers on it, and then there was like a crack in the case. Sometimes they were missing the manual and all of that stuff, but they still said that it was like very good or in excellent condition. So, it's nice to see that, and the majority of the time I've had really good luck getting games off of eBay. I'm not going to stop anytime soon. I'm going to keep growing my collection through that site.
It's one of my favorites as well. One of my main sources of getting games. As we've said on previous shows when we've talked about how to get into collecting, eBay can definitely be a great resource for that. Do be aware of people trying to gouge, trying to jack up prices, and it's an old game, it's a rare collectible. Not all of them are, so definitely be aware of that. But it sounds like you got a great price for a pretty rare collectible. I was actually looking at that game myself. I'll have to double-check my watch list to see if you got my copy, actually. Kind of like Lakers versus Celtics, but I've been looking at a couple of those games and might add them. Actually, before we get into 2K23 this week, on the subject of Japanese games and US regions and power regions, NTSC power regions, I was actually watching a video on how to hack your PS2 and hack the software to make it a debug console and make it play all regions. And you can do this with some software that's online. There's no longer a need for a mod chip. In fact, this software will often not work with a mod chip. But I always kind of want to pick up a cheap PS2 and just try it. I don't really want to risk bricking my PS2, but I almost want to get a spare PS2 just to try this out and see if I can get a region-free console.
How cool would that be? It actually reminds me a little bit of the jailbroken PS3 thing.
Exactly, yeah.
That many people are doing right now in order to play games like NBA Elite 11 and whatnot, and games that normally are either hard to get their hands on or not available on the console. So I also looked that up too. So NBA Elite 11, like playing that on a jailbroken PS3 is not illegal. Like, it's not illegal to do it. However, it is technically against Sony terms of use. So there's a fine line there for people that are doing that. And technically, I'm not sure what the ramifications could be if not legal, but they advise you against doing it.
We are not lawyers. We will put that out there. Obviously, we cannot give legal advice. But with these games that never came out, it's important to preserve them in some way, because there's limited amount of copies that have got out into the wild, or the source code has been leaked in some cases. But I am glad that Elite 11 is out there for people to try. And again, we can't speak to the legality of it, but it is important, rough as it is, and a game that kind of sunk the NBA Live series, it's still important to preserve it as part of gaming history, I feel.
Oh, 100%. And I also wanted to point something out about the jailbroken PS3 situation. So instead of doing that, there are people now, and I just got sent a link from another member of Twitter, actually, Basketball Gamer. There are people who are selling NBA Elite 11 thumb drives online for like $45 to $50. I think that's the price that I saw in that listing. So you plug that USB drive into your PlayStation 3, and you can download NBA Elite 11 on it. Now, that's not a legal copy of the game, but people are going to definitely be able to make a profit off of that by selling it. So it's an interesting dynamic, like what people are doing here with NBA Elite 11 and jailbroken PS3s.
It is, and we've seen a few people in our community get their hands on Elite 11 one way or another, and throw some footage out there. And, you know, it would have been interesting to see that game released, and whether they could have recovered from it, and whether they could have weathered a bad release better than no release. But it definitely was not going to compete with 2K11. That much I can say.
It would not. No, I mean, you know, you played the demo,
yes,
right?
Yeah,
and whatnot, and as have I. And the gameplay, when you switch it back to like more traditional controls, can have its moments.
Agreed.
Like I do think that some drives to the hoop are pretty good in that game. Some of the dunks look nice. They're not all rocket dunks and whatnot. Alley-oops look decent sometimes. The graphics are pretty good. Got to be honest with you. Like I think I enjoy the graphics, and I enjoy the presentation. But at the end of the day, as far as an overall product on the floor and then just depth-wise, it just wasn't going to be able to compete with 2K11.
And it's a shame, because we do need that competition in the space. I mean, we've talked about how we've been really enjoying 2K23. I continue to enjoy 2K23, but there's been a lot of people pointing out lately the lack of goodwill when it comes to upgrading my players and whatnot. And this is what we lose by not having competition in the space. We have a company with a virtual monopoly over the basketball gaming space, the sim space, and they're just able to do whatever they like. And, you know, we've been talking about this for years. Other people have other content creators, other people in the community. But a lot of people have been excusing the VC gouging for a long time. And it's refreshing to see more and more people speaking out about it this year and saying how ridiculous it is and how it's really getting in the way of the quality of the experience. But I also have to say, where were you a few years ago when we were pointing out how bad this was getting?
Yeah, I mean, you and I have really been trying to shine a light on it since 2K18.
Yes.
When it really got ramped up. And I also want to point out the honeymoon stage is coming to an end on NBA 2K23. In fact, for a lot of people, that honeymoon stage is over already. So in the last week, especially, and I've been sending you a whole bunch of those tweets, some from blue check marks, high follower accounts, low follower accounts, etc. But people now starting to really complain about the cost to upgrade their player, about the cost of everything my career. A cost to the cost to, make your player fun to use and to be able to compete against all of the other, juiced up, players who put hundreds of dollars into, virtual currency and whatnot in order to get to that point. So I think you would agree. And we talk about this every year. Honeymoon stage. When it ends, you get a lot of complaining. And the game no longer just feels like a new, fun, exciting thing. It then becomes they're in your pockets.
Yes.
Number one.
Yes.
I know that people notice that. And two, they're now more open to talking about the flaws in the game, whether it's the fact that adrenaline meter didn't work as we were hoping, right? And the dribble spamming, you showed me some footage of it, but the dribble spam is absolutely still there. And the ridiculous change of direction that kind of goes along with it. And it just looks foolish. It looks so silly. But the adrenaline meter doesn't get impacted when you're not using turbo. So people have found a way to spam their dribbling and whatnot endlessly without impacting that adrenaline meter. So there's no negative impact to them. But they start pointing that stuff out. The overpowering steals is another thing that I've been seeing, talking about just the imbalance of online play, about how it's not fair to newcomers or people with lower overalls, etc. So honeymoon stage has already been coming to an end, and we're just seeing a lot of complaints.
Are you saying that that you don't like those dribbling moves and the overuse of dribble spam? Old head. What do you want, basketball in this basketball game, Derek?
No, apparently, according to that gentleman who called anybody who disagreed with his dribble spam an old head, according to him, we should be treating this basketball game, which is marketed as a basketball simulation, like a fighting game. He compared it to a fighting game with combos,
yes,
and whatnot. And he said that, that's the way he believes the game should be played and whatnot. And he considers that skill-based and whatnot. But apparently anybody who wants to play basketball in a basketball simulator and play basketball in a more realistic, challenging, competitive way with a real skill gap, apparently all those people are old heads. So it's wild stuff.
What a novel concept, playing basketball in a basketball video game. It's but it does actually make me feel a bit old, Derek, because it makes me realize that we've gone from a community that was really into Desar's creed, play basketball, not video games. Don't play video games, play basketball, I should say, rather, not to butcher his creed there, to people saying, and prominent content creators, and some influencers and streamers and whatnot. And I know there's different parts of the community you've got your hardcore sim heads, and you've got some of those online park players who want to play this way. But it's funny that we have that sect of the community, if you will, that's really into this downplaying the old heads and downplaying realism in a game that for so many years we said we want more and more realism. We want it to replicate real life as closely as it possibly can. There are limitations, which we understand, and there are some breaks from reality. I mean, I consider myself a sim head in many ways, but at the same time, I won't say, oh well, I don't want to have too many dunks in the game because I don't want to have more dunks in the game than you see in a real game. No, there are breaks from reality that are acceptable because they are part of the fun. And if you made it too realistic, I think we'd find out we wouldn't enjoy it as much, even those of us who consider ourselves hardcore sim heads. So there are definitely acceptable breaks from reality in that respect. But
it's not even about being sim, Andrew. It's not even just about being sim. It's about not having that stupid stuff happening on the court.
Oh, for sure.
Have the action look absolutely ridiculous. Have no true skill gap involved, or very little true skill gap involved. Having the artificial boosts flood the game. All of that stuff. It's not even just saying, it's not saying, hey, you shouldn't be playing the game casually. That's not what we're saying, because it's fun to play casually.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's fun to, get on the same team and maybe beat the computer by 50 or 60 sometimes. It's fun to play a brand of basketball that can sometimes be somewhat considered leaning arcade and whatnot, even in a sim title. But it's the stupid stuff. It's the imbalance. It's the not being fair to the gamer, whether it be like the in between the lines action or, like I said, reaching in to people's pockets, which we're going to get into a little bit later.
And again, as I've said before, spamming the same moves over and over again and getting the same result is hardly skill-based. Just being able to spam those same moves reliably time and time again, that was the kind of stuff, how we talked about Freestyle Superstars back in the day in Live 06. A great idea in theory, a little bit overpowering in practice, that you could just go into the paint with an outside scorer and do the behind-the-back layup and whatnot, and score 9 times out of 10, until the comeback logic kicked in and started making you miss. That's when you knew the CPU wasn't playing around anymore, when even Freestyle Superstars wasn't working anymore. But the point is, we didn't want to have those mechanics, which you could say are just as arcade. No one was saying, oh, old heads, well, we didn't say old heads back then, but no one was saying, oh, you're out of touch, you don't know what you're talking about if you want the Freestyle Superstars and Freestyle moves to be realistic and not so overpowering. But this whole talk about the skill gap and everything in competitive play has just become so toxic and so myopic that we're getting ridiculous stuff like this. And apparently, if you don't like 2K23, you are ass.
Yeah,
as one gentleman put it.
Not only that, you're.
But we like we like 2K23. Yeah. You and I, we have our criticisms, but we actually like the game.
We have modes and content that we like to play. That's the funny part. Is, as you know, there's a couple people that were invited to the 2K community event, and they blocked me. Yeah. One of them I had never interacted with before in my life. Why did they block me? Because they're in it. They're part of that 2K scene. They're promoted in various ways, either by developers or community managers, etc. And they, anytime you come out with, questioning this stuff, anytime you come out with, any constructive criticisms, anytime you do stuff like that, they'll get on you about it, or they'll just straight up block you. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous. As you noticed, I've been spending a lot of time with my team, and I've been having fun. I've been uploading videos of NBA 2K23 My Team Domination to the NLSC YouTube channel, and a little bit to my channel as well. I've also been playing MyNBA with my brother co-op locally, and that's been really fun. We're having a blast. We're playing 12-minute quarters, and we're already 15 games into the season. So that's how much we've been spending time on that. So it's okay to criticize and constructively critique, when they're doing something wrong. That feedback needs to get out there. We've said it so many times before. But the way this is constructed right now, it seems like in the community and, on social media and whatnot, if you do critique and whatnot, or even criticize, because they deserve to be criticized at this point over the rosters, like that stuff, the copy paste stuff, and then also the, reaching into people's pockets, but you're automatically like crapped on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You're being told you're ass. You're, like you stated earlier, at the game, you're being told that you're nitpicking. You're being told that you're poor. You've seen those. That you're poor.
That's the worst. That is the one that I hate the most at the moment.
It's ridiculous. And then it's an all-encompassing thing, like, if you don't like 2K, go play live. Or go play this. Like, no. I said I'm having fun. Well, yeah, okay, right. But no, I said I'm having fun with certain aspects of the game. But that doesn't mean that there are not issues.
That is what gets me as well. That you can say 9 positive things and say, hey, I'm really enjoying the game, but to be honest, this is problematic, this could be better. And it's this this idea that you can't criticize something you enjoy, that you're somehow not a fan, that you're a hater if you point out these issues where the game could be better. And you're not saying, oh, I hate the game and F2K and all this stuff, although sometimes you might say that when you see the VC prices and whatnot. But you are pointing out these great things and these positive aspects of the game that you're enjoying and saying, hey, I'm having fun with the game, but this is getting in the way of having even more fun with it. This is a design flaw. And you're couching it in the most constructive way possible. You're not being snarky about it. You're saying, hey, this is a way that could be better. And no, appreciate what you've got. appreciate what we've got. We're consumers. It's in our best interests to point out when something could be better, or when we're being taken advantage of, as the case is with the pushy approach to recurrent revenue. So yeah, that stuff is absolutely toxic. The whole ripping on people because they're quote unquote poor because they won't pay for VC is just shilling for $1 billion corporation. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. You are a shill if you put that argument out there.
This brings me back to the article that I shared with you by the website Kotaku.
Luke Plunkett, yes.
Yeah, and it says, NBA 2K23, the Kotaku review. This game and series has nothing but contempt for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's by Luke Plunkett. And I want to read part of this very long article. And I recommend it because I can see where his frustration comes from. He says, this game is a hustle, and the hustle is everywhere. From the moment you try to improve your player, to big splash screens advertising card packs, right down to every time I try and leave the game, where the next menu item down after quit is buy VC. None of this is new, of course. VC made its debut all the way back in NBA 2K13, so for a decade, 2K has been grabbing players by the shorts, flipping them upside down on the court and shaking them until all their lunch money falls out, and players just keep on coming back year after year. And then he states, NBA fans are trapped. This game sucks and it gets worse every year, but it's the only game in town. 2K have them, and the NBA has them, and so long as they do, this game will keep offering as little as it can get away with, while trying to extract the most money it can get away with no competition to worry about, and a fan base dulled by a decade of shakedown. The system in which the 2K series is operating was designed just for this moment. That part really stands out about like hustling gamers, right? Because that's kind of what it feels like. And I'm seeing more and more people talk about like the price to upgrade your player and all the gambling mechanics that go along with, trying to get people to buy VC and whatnot. And I'm seeing things like where if you wanted to upgrade your player to say 90 overall or 95 overall, it would be a few $100s.
Yes.
That is insane. I saw somebody say that in order to get their player up to 98 or 99 overall, it's roughly around $500.
By my calculations, that's about correct, yeah, about that.
Yeah,
and that's even if you get the Jordan edition, or special editions, that's even if you do that.
Right. So then if you get the Jordan edition, so let's say you do get like a $100 version of the game, you can get your player roughly up to about 80 overall, which is what you were able to do.
That's right.
And that gets you to the point where you can kind of compete, but you know that you need to do more.
Exactly.
Right?
100%.
And you almost, I guarantee it, feel like, well, a few dollars here probably. You know what I mean? Like here or there, and maybe it will help me out. So that's the predicament that players are in right now. And between that and what's going on in my team, which, by the way, I got to tell you something, the prices are just insane. Between those two modes, I can't even imagine how much money actually hits 2K's bottom line. My guess is it's astronomical.
I mean, they are definitely making bank for this. There's been articles written about this, how much profits they're making. I remember in 2K20 when the profits were down, what the CEO said, Straszelnik said, we have ways of increasing in the future. And I think you and I were talking about it on the show at the time. We were saying, oh, this is not good. And we're seeing those come to fruition. Absolutely. And that is such a fantastic article by Luke Plunkett. This is not the first time that he has called it out. His previous reviews have done this. He's been pretty consistent. One of the few in gaming journalism that is actually not just being running puff pieces for NBA 2K. He's one of the few that's actually calling this stuff out. And there were some people hitting back at the review saying, oh, he didn't even bother to go into the nuts and bolts of that review. And he, as he said, it wasn't a traditional review because he actually said, I'm pretty much copying and pasting a lot of stuff from my 2K22 review because these issues are... because it's the same issues and there's so much of the game is just carried over. He was making a point, which went over their heads because they just want to shill for the game. And it was such a great review. I love that he's calling it out. He's one of the few that does. And to that point, I think he really nailed it when he said that the community has been dulled to it, because it goes back to what we were just saying, that people are downplaying that criticism or saying, VC's been in the game since 2K13, it's an old issue, it's old hat, these complaints, stop complaining and everything. And you still see that with some of these new complaints that are ramping up. And look, I am glad that more people are speaking out on this. As I said, where were some of you a few years ago when this was very obvious, but we're happy to have you on the aboard the train now. But there's still those people saying, well, just don't buy the game, and you've been saying this for years. Yes, we need to keep speaking out about these issues, because not only might it put some pressure on 2K, possibly, maybe, long shot, but if nothing else, it warns other people against them. And it's important that we speak out and let our fellow gamers know and advocate for our fellow gamers. But as he said, we've been dulled to it, so a lot of people are just accepting of it, and that's sad.
People right now, this new generation of gamers and whatnot, have come to expect this now. This is now the new normal. This is the expectation. This is what they've basically been conditioned to accept in the basketball gaming space. And I got to point something out, because I'm hearing a lot about this too, not just in the basketball gaming space. I heard that Madden Ultimate Team is absolutely horrible for this, for the gambling mechanics, for the prices, all of that stuff. And there are people putting hundreds of dollars into Madden Ultimate Team.
Oh yes. So streamers are boycotting. Madden streamers are boycotting the game because of it.
Right. So I need people to understand that we're not just saying this is 2K. I mean, they're terrible with it. They're absolutely horrible with it. But EA Sports is doing it too.
Oh, yeah, and they'd be doing it with Live. I mean, Live was much better about this. They didn't have all this pay-to-win, pay-to-upgrade your player in the one, in Live 18 and 19. But don't get me wrong. If Live was being more competitive with 2K those years, if the sales were, on par and whatnot, they would definitely be doing it. We're not saying that EA is this wonderful bastion of being generous to gamers. They're absolutely not. And the reason we focus on 2K is because we are a basketball gaming website, basketball gaming podcast. That's what we're going to talk about. But it is absolutely infecting the whole of gaming, AAA gaming, these days.
Oh, yeah. And there's other titles non-sports related that are just absolutely all about, you can either grind for thousands of hours to get certain items, which you won't even have time for, or you can pay to win, right? Or it's pay to win in general. So it's definitely not just 2K, but they definitely need to be called out, as do the other companies who are pulling this. But I wanted to read a couple tweets that I sent to you that kind of shed light on how bad this is. So at Ian Britton states, and he's Yogi on Twitter, he says, "Hello, NBA 2K. I would like to alert you, children don't have $500 to spend on a console plus $100 to spend on a game. Then on top of that $200 plus to make a build they will probably mess up on or get bored of, then spend another $200 on another. Just make virtual currency actually earnable in the game." I said that I think that speaks volumes, and he's not exaggerating about those prices.
Exactly. Not at all. Not at all.
And then at Case Tweezy, so Case 12 on Twitter, says, "They make your character unplayable unless you pay. You lately can't dribble, drive, pass, shoot, play defense at all with where you start at. I spent $40 on virtual currency and my players still can't really do those things. It's a joke. At least make the game enjoyable for $100.
And that's what it comes down to. I mean, everyone pulls out that straw man, right? Says, oh, you want to be 99 in the first week or whatever. You don't want to put in the work. Well, first of all, games are supposed to be play, not work, for a start. But yes, certainly we are fine with having a journey and upgrading our player. But the only reason to start out as low as we do, with such horrible ratings that you can't possibly take online. And again, there's no proper matchmaking online, so if you don't want to play the NBA side of things, if you want to jump straight into online, you are going to be at a disadvantage. People don't want to play with you because you're going to be a horrible teammate because you don't have the ratings, and you're not going to have a good time with the game because of those horrible ratings. So it's definitely by design. It's not a fun journey, and it's only done to push these recurrent revenue mechanics. This is not a design choice made for optimum fun or to make a fun journey. When the choice is between a horrible grind fest of a journey that's really frustrating and repetitive and whatnot, and paying to at least try to enjoy the game a little bit at the start, that is optional, because everyone says it's optional to buy, which it is, but it's not. They're not very appealing options, and that's what it comes down to. And it's not making the game as fun as it can be. It's not prioritizing fun. That is the issue. And yes, as he says, kids are playing the game, and yes, you may mess up your build, and there's no respec options, or none. If you get to 90 overall, you can unlock Rebirth, and you can create a new player, and you can get these 25 badges to start, enough points to get 25 badges, but you also start again at 60 overall, and you have to earn all that VC again, or pay for it, to upgrade the attributes, which you absolutely need to.
That scene is a trap.
Yes.
That's the way I look at that scene. The majority of the time, it's a trap.
It is, and I've upgraded my player with the pre-order VC. I know the build that really works for me online and offline. I've been playing a bit of my career. The story is terrible. I showed you some of the cutscenes. It has some of the most contemptible characters in the history of my career stories. And I've come from 2K14.
It's targeted at 14-year-olds.
Yeah, it's written by a 14-year-old. You've seen the quality of the writing.
Seems like, well, it's definitely, if anything, it's written for 14-year-olds, and that's very, very clear by the footage that I've seen you show, and then others have shown.
I mean, I guess I'm not in that core demographic of the story and whatnot, but to that point, you have to you've got to slog through the story or skip the cutscenes. You've got to do some of the mandatory quests. You don't have to run to the arena. I have to follow up on this from a previous show. You don't have to run to the arena every time to play the next game. You can bring up the menu and go play next game, and it'll just skip straight to it. But you do also skip over quests if you do that. There are some quests that you have to fulfill and have to finish before you play the next game sometimes. So there's a lot of stuff that's getting in the way of just playing basketball in a basketball game. And again,
quests.
Yeah.
Quests. Like an RPG, there's quests, and there's a ton of them, and I see people complaining about them because the rewards are so minimal. There's so many different quests. There's people riding around in go-karts. Like, what are we doing?
That's the thing. The quests don't give. If the quests were giving you, if they were worth doing, if they were enjoyable, and also giving you a significant amount of VC to upgrade, they'd be like, you know what, this is actually worth doing, and maybe it does freshen things up. Maybe it would freshen things up between gameplay, which I appreciate, but it doesn't. The big one is the having to wear the hot dog hat. You may have seen screenshots of that. You know, and where you have to do that and complete that quest before you can play the next game. So they've got you looking like a literal dickhead. I mean, what? There's your contempt for the consumer wearing this wiener hat for the next whatever to finish this quest and then play the next game. It's just as Luke Plunkett said, contempt for the user. And I've been playing a little bit of that to level up my player. We did play some 3v3 Pro-Am. Kenny, Leo, and I, and that was fun. There were moments of frustration because of the players who had obviously been grinding hard or paying for it, and they're using the dribble spam like that clip that I showed you. But we did have some fun, and it was much more fun than the wreck, just playing with each other against these other organized squads with our NLSC Thrill-Ho. So that was fun, but you can still see all the issues that it's not as fun as it could be, and that's where the criticism comes in.
People say that it's a choice, and that you just got to suck it up. Like, I've seen that a bunch of times. But the bottom line is that if you just jump in with the regular version of the video game and you just try to create a player and you jump into like rec or park or anything like that, your player is going to feel basically useless, and
Exactly.
You're not going to be having fun with the mechanics of the game. You're not going to be having fun with the game really at all, and you're going to be getting smoked by people who actually paid money. See, that's what people need to understand. It's the pressure. It's the fact that the base game by itself in that mode, if you just spend the 70 or 60 bucks on the game, for the majority of people, it is not fun.
Yes.
Like, your player is slow as hell. His dribbling is slow as hell. He can't really do anything on the court. He can't really compete. So what you need to understand is that they're not giving you a fun experience at the base price. At the base price in those modes that they advertise the most and where all the gambling mechanics are. So I wanted to read one more tweet related to that, and it's from at Chico Philo YT. And he says, NBA 2K23 has been an amazing game so far, but the increased cost to upgrade a player is crazy. Nobody should have to spend more than the actual game itself in order to max out a single build. So I see what he's saying there. He's saying that if you spend 70 bucks on the game and then you put an additional $70 or more into the game, that you should be able to create an amazing player.
Exactly.
Because that is a lot of money.
It is. And again, people are justifying this by saying, oh, well, this is how it is, or, oh, are you too broke to spend on VC? I'm like, well, if you're one of those people, I think I said this last week as well, but I'll reiterate it because it remains true, that if you're going to be accusing people of being broke for not buying VC, are you paying for that, or are you using your parents' credit card? I'm just saying, because I'm sure there's a lot of people.
Again, who's the marketing targeted at, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's absolutely toxic. Before we go on, a reminder that the NLSC podcast comes out every week on the NLSC, MBA-live.com, as well as our YouTube channel. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast apps. If you're listening on any of those apps, we'd greatly appreciate a review. To keep up with the show and everything we're doing with basketball gaming in general, connect with us on social media. On Twitter and Facebook, we are the NLSC. We also have an Instagram, NLSC Basketball, and on YouTube, we're youtube.com/NBA Live Series Center. Once again, visit us at NBA-live.com, where in addition to the podcast, you'll also find all of our original content, as well as our forum and modding community. And I want to bring up something else as well. You know, this past week, it was discovered that MyNBA Eras rosters were playable in Play Now. Through accessing a debug menu by pressing square or X, square on PlayStation 5 or X on Xbox Series X/S, you could bring up this debug menu and play with Eras rosters in Play Now. And I stayed up late putting together a video to show this. So, shout out to the person on Reddit who actually alerted me to this and posted the thread, and I saw it there. And I did credit them in the video, but I put it together because I thought, you know what, this is something to share with the community. And within 12 hours, that was patched. They couldn't let us have a cool option. Obviously, it was not meant to happen. It was accidentally activated. But they couldn't just roll with it and let us have it. Now, here's the issue with patching it. I understand that it wasn't supposed to happen and that they patched a mistake they made. However, in my career, you still have animations for your player randomly go back to the default. The animations you have equipped will unequip, and the default ones will equip instead. So they've still got that issue. They've still got other issues with the game that they are just dragging their feet to patch and to fix. You've got people who are not...
The broadcast cam.
Exactly. Right. You've still got people who are not getting their pre-order bonuses. They're dragging their feet on that. But when something like that happens, when they could give us a little something with a little bit of goodwill, when it affected them and they didn't want it to be there, they patched that within 24 hours. But 2 weeks...
What was that hurting? What was that hurting?
They didn't even make money off that. They didn't even make money off that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Well, I mean, what it could do is take them out of the money-making modes, I guess. Like, it'd make them spend more time in, like, Play Now. Or something. Like, I don't know what the rhyme or reason is, but I thought that was crazy how fast that got patched out.
But those rosters are for MyNBA, which is a free mode. That doesn't have VC at all.
I know, but that ease of access of them, right?
True.
Because when you do this in MyNBA and you use the eras, if you want to just go in there and play casually, you have to like select all teams and then find it on the calendar what game you want to play. You have to set it all up. Turn injuries off if you want to just like have no injuries going on. You actually have to set it up and go through that. But yeah, no, I thought that was absolutely crazy how fast they patch that. And
it's always the case that if there's an exploit that people can earn VC, I understand them wanting to patch VC exploits and other things. I mean, that is fair to a certain extent. It'd be goodwill if they just let it happen, but I understand it. The problem is they'll fix issues that affect them within 24 hours. They always find a way to do that. They even fixed that pink... You remember that pink diamond issue with LeBron James? The pink diamond LeBron James? They fixed that on Christmas Day. And of course, celebrating some great, a Christmas tree. And I understand that locker code was not supposed to be public. People got what they weren't supposed to get with that. So I understand them removing it, but they did it very quietly. They made sure they did it on Christmas Day. There's no way that if people were not getting their pre-order packs on Christmas Day, or they're not getting, if there's a problem with VC not being given, they just did there was the daily bonus in my career at the time that was broken in 2K20 that they just didn't fix. Or it was 2K21, the daily bonus, the daily challenge VC, like get 5 dunks in games or whatever. That it wasn't working. It was giving 0 VC instead of the listed amount. In the end, they just disabled it. They didn't fix it. So they just let that go. But if there was anything that affected them, They fixed that. Holidays, within 24 hours, whatever, that was getting fixed. And they fixed this again within probably 12 hours of me posting that video. So am I a little bit bitter? Am I a little bit bitter because I made that video and then it was immediately obsolete? A little bit. But it's the bigger issue here is that they drag their feet on fixing issues that affect the gamer, but they will fix issues of their own so quickly. And an issue like this wasn't even going to cost them money. This was a chance for them to show some goodwill and say, hey, this wasn't supposed to happen, but you know what? Enjoy. But they just couldn't do it.
The other point I want to make, too, is, you're upset about that, as rightly so. But this is the same company, too, that for, 7 years, they still have some of the same roster issues, with the classic teams, the rush jobs, copy-paste, all that stuff, some of the exact same ones from 2K16. 7 years of the same stuff that they refuse to fix. Why? Because are they making any money off of that?
That's right. Yeah.
No, it's not in the money-making modes. So I also want to point something out really quick. You know how I talked about if you would just buy the base version of the game and you try to go online, your player sucks? Well, at the same time, that's the same thing with my team. If you buy the base game and you don't get all the bonus packs and you don't get that 100 VC, so let's say you spend $60 or $70 on the game, your lineup is going to suck.
Yes.
And then your pack odds suck, so you keep buying packs. When you win challenges, you get very minimal amount of my team points, so you can't really buy good players. And most of the time, any player that's like a star is like in the 200,000 to 300,000 my team point range or higher. The prices are unbelievable on the auction house. So it's a goal to have your player play poorly and you not to have fun with the game out of the gate when you buy the lowest price version.
Absolutely.
You're not supposed to have fun in my team and you're not supposed to have fun in my career, and then boom, you're shelling out money. I wanted to bring up another tweet, and I know that this bothered you quite a bit. We talked about it a little bit. This account has 225,000 followers, and it's a strictly NBA 2K account, so these are all 2K gamers. And this is the tweet. It's by @2K Intel, NBA 2K23 leaks in Intel, and it says, "Be the reason someone deletes 2K today." Does it get any more toxic than that?
No, it doesn't.
And there's so many people that liked it. There's so many people that are on board with that. What the hell happened?
The competitive scene,
gaming.
The competitive scene is just toxic.
Somebody else. You want to piss somebody off. You want to piss somebody off to the point where they spent their hard-earned money on a video game, or their parents bought it for them. So they spent their parents' hard-earned money. Yeah. You want to piss them off so much, and you want to be so selfish that you want them to delete the game and get so frustrated that they don't play it anymore. What kind of person says that crap? What are you guys doing?
It's just ridiculous, and it brings me to that next point, that when it comes to the dragging their feet on patching these issues and toxicity in the community and all that kind of stuff, what are we getting from the influencers? Crickets. Nobody is calling this out.
It's all about it's the people. No, none of the big influencers are calling this out, and if they do, they barely touch on it. And it's always at the end of a video. It's like, things are a little bit expensive this year and whatnot. That's basically it.
Burying the lead. Absolutely, yeah.
Right. And then and at the same time, what the devs are promoting, of course, and anybody on social media who's connected in some way, it's videos like, oh, here's how to, shoot a better jump shot. Here's how to, here's some great combos with your dribbling and all of that stuff. And it's very robotic. The social media influencers who are promoted by 2K, et cetera, or who have high follower accounts in general, it just seems incredibly robotic. And I think you and I have talked about that before. And it's just man, what the problem is that 2K's got them, right?
Yes.
They got him with the perks.
If you want your access.
They got him with the clout. Yeah. They got him with the access. They got him with all of that stuff. And what happens is one of their things is it's almost like they're silencing the criticism, right?
Oh, they definitely are. No, they're contributing to that, yeah.
Silencing it, or they don't bring it up at all and whatnot. And that's why we continue. That's why it continues. Like Luke Plunkett stated, there's nobody in the space. There's nobody else making a basketball sim game. There's nobody else, to be able to compete with them and keep them honest. Maybe the new company that came in could do things right and be more fair to the gamer and everything. There's no competition there. So, if these kids, there's kids from all around the world and young adults from all around the world that love basketball. What are they going to do? They're going to buy a basketball video game. That's how you get over 10 million copies sold with all of these unfair mechanics.
And it is a shame because there are fun elements to the game. Again, we have been enjoying the game. We've been playing some Play Now, MyNBA, my team. I've been getting into some of the online scene. It's hit and miss as it always is, especially when you haven't paid or been grinding ridiculously. Somebody I saw on Reddit said, you can play for 6 hours a day and get to 99 in 2 weeks. Like, well, not everyone, especially adults, have 6 hours a day to grind. And even if you wanted to pay, you still need to grind to get the level cap up. So you have to both grind
also, I don't
and
believe
pay.
that. I don't believe that claim.
I'm dubious as well. I'm skeptical about that as well. I don't think the math is right on that, absolutely. But there are people who continue to defend that, and it's okay. I mean, people say, why are you bringing up microtransactions in a review? You shouldn't. It's about the gameplay. But it's so intrinsic. It's so integrated into the mechanics of the game and the design of my career and my team that you have to bring up the predatory mechanics. And of course, remember, 1 year cycle, next year it all starts again. So these are issues, and the honeymoon period is drawing to a close, or as you said, already over for some people. People are willing to talk about not just some of the legacy issues and stuff with the game that could be better, which is important as well, but also these predatory mechanics. And I'm sorry, we won't shut up about it. People should not shut up about it because this is an ongoing issue. Yes, it's been happening for many years. That's also part of the problem, that people have been enabling it for so many years that they've just been excusing it. And thank you for jumping on board with this and now and agreeing that it's a problem. But again, this has been a problem for a few years now. We've been pointing this out. The whole frog in a pot of boiling water metaphor, actually wrong. Frogs will actually jump out of it. The science has been disproven on that. But the metaphor still stands that some people have just been staying in the water as it turns up the heat, and now they're finally jumping out, or they've been boiled. And yeah, we saw the writing on the wall years ago. We've been calling it out. We must continue to call it out because we need to have that goodwill in gaming. And certainly when they're not fixing issues, but they're fixing issues that affect them, but not us, that also needs to be called out. If influencers won't do it, the community at large must, and put that pressure and say, hey, why aren't you talking about this? And, stop shilling for the company, stop shilling for influencers who are shilling.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I wanted to bring up one final point before we move on to the mailbag, which we have two questions to touch on, actually, that I threw out there. Remember how on a recent episode I had stated to you that I believe that there are a ton of gamers out there, 2K gamers and whatnot, that do not have their hands on the next-gen consoles.
I remember, yes.
I stated that I talked about how PlayStation 5 is still so hard to get your hands on. Same with Xbox Series X. And then S's are a little bit more available, but even they're sometimes hard to get their hands on. So there was a gentleman by name of @Mr. Pio1, and he has about 42,000 followers. I think he might have been a former developer or whatnot. I got to look into that and everything. But he said, it's insane how in 2 months' time, PS5 will be 2 years old and you still can't walk into a store and buy it normally. And this post, the reason why it intrigued me is it got 304,000 likes. That's a lot of likes. 27,000 retweets, over 1 million impressions, and whatnot. And people in the comments are agreeing. They're saying, you know what, in my area, we haven't had any PS5s available. We haven't been able to get our hands on them, and there's no place that we seem to be able to get our hands on them online either, which is why I was happy that they did put a little bit of work into the PC version of NBA 2K23, because I still think that there's a ton of 2K gamers right now that have not moved on to next-gen consoles. They're just not available. And
they would if they could. That's the thing. It's the availability.
Right. And the price is crazy.
Yes.
Like, the price is crazy on these consoles. I mean, PS5s still to get your hands on them. I want to say they also upped the price. You're looking at like $600 to $700. That is a lot of money. And then on top of that, you got to buy the game, right? Then you got to buy an extra controller. as well. Oh, wait, and then you probably have to buy some VC if you want to have fun in the game. So, yeah, you're looking at a lot of money. And a lot of the people that are being marketed these systems and these games and whatnot are kids. So it just bums me out. It bums me out to no end.
And let's not forget all the scalpers who scoop them all up and then are selling them above retail price. I mean, yeah, there's more issues here than people are broke or they don't want to spend money. I mean, there are also things that you need to prioritize over gaming. You and I do that as much as we collect, as much as we are enthusiastic gamers. You know, we have other bills to pay, other things we need to spend our money on.
Right, 100%. And a lot of these kids, I think, you know, and people have pointed this out before, I think a lot of these kids are using their parents' money or asking their parents for money to do this stuff.
Definitely.
Because a lot of these kids aren't even the age to have jobs, or if they do, they're getting paid so little that they can't really afford to put it towards NBA 2K. So the whole scene is wild. It's absolutely wild.
And I want to put it out there, we have been critical this week because this has really rankled us, as I'm sure you can tell from our tone. But the last couple of shows, we have been very positive about 2K23. But the honeymoon period,
he says it in the article. So, like, listen, even Plunkett, he says it in the article. He said something along the lines of, if you want to play this game like an older game, right? Like
the traditional modes,
traditional modes, like play MyNBA, or you play now or something like that, or you jump on Blacktop or something like that. Like, then you could probably still have a lot of traditional fun with the game. And that's what my brother and I try to do.
We are, yes.
We love to co-op MyNBA and stuff like that and whatnot. And you'll throw like teams on the floor, as long as their ratings and tendencies are done well, like classic teams on the floor, and you'll try to have fun doing that. That's fine. But that doesn't change what gaming is right now and what's marketed in 2022.
It doesn't.
Right?
No.
It doesn't change what is being promoted by all the influencers, by the company, where the modes they're pushing you to, and the modes that are available now for people to play, like my career, you know, jumping in park and rec and whatnot. And then also, you know, in my team and whatnot. So sure. And by the way, the game definitely still has gameplay flaws, but it's definitely a game that you can have fun with, like in those traditional modes. And we've said that. We've applauded it for that in where it's done well. But that doesn't change the fact that the modes that people are these kids are pushed to the most, are so predatory. And that's the biggest problem.
There are aspects that could be much more fun than they are, and there are clear reasons why they're not. And it comes down to greed and not quality gameplay design. Or necessity, because people say, oh, we need to have the microtransactions to support the game, to make it... This doesn't go back into the game. It doesn't even go to the developers. It goes to the suits, the people who aren't putting the hard work into the game. They're not working crunch time. They're not putting hours of their week into developing it and trying to make the best game they possibly can. It's going to the suits. So don't give me that stuff about microtransactions are necessary for the quality of games. It's just, again, shilling for $1 billion corporation. Cut it out. That they are not your friends, quite frankly. let's put that out there.
I gotta point something out. Nobody could ever say that Andrew and I are haters. Like, if
they can say it.
Show,
they can say it. But
I mean, they can say it, but you'd be wrong.
Yeah.
Like because we also criticize EA when they pull stuff like this. Like I just mentioned Madden earlier. Like, we upload a ton of 2K footage to our channels. I upload a ton to the NLSC. Andrew writes positive articles about 2K games. I'm constantly uploading 2K footage to my channel. And again, like I said, the NLSC channel. I'm sharing footage constantly, positive footage on my Twitter handle. So are you, all of that stuff. The only reason why you would call us haters or like come down on us for criticizing the game is honestly because you're being a fanboy and you're kind of being stupid. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick.
Yeah, no.
You're being a shill.
Yeah.
Like, because if you ever listened to us and you ever saw the content that we put out, you would know that would be complete BS.
And you look at, I shared, final point here, I shared my team. I'm having a blast with my team, but the promo pack that I opened up that came through, because it's the second week or the third week, so I get that promo pack for my team. And I got yet another double. Less than 100 cards in my collection, I got another double, traded in on the exchange for a pack, I completed that exchange, and got another double out of that pack. I shouldn't. Just the way you're getting doubles out of promo packs, the odds are just terrible. This stuff needs to be called out, because I can say, look, my team loved the modes, having fun with the gameplay, but the pack odds kind of suck, kind of really suck, and that is
really suck.
That's legitimate criticism. That is legitimate criticism.
Yeah.
That's to say,
I remember playing NBA 2K15, Andrew. I remember playing 2K15, and the pack odds were so favorable.
Absolutely.
Like, they were absolutely fair to the gamer. I had so much fun playing NBA 2K15, my team. I can't even believe it. Because it was fair.
Yeah, and this is part of critique and criticism, identifying the positive and identifying the negative. And we need to rethink our attitude. I say we, I mean the community as a whole, and by the community as a whole, I mean that part of the community that continues to shill and fanboy and excuse every single negative thing that the game does, every flaw with the game, every predatory mechanic. That it's okay to say, these are the positives, these are the negatives. We can enjoy something while also criticizing the parts we don't enjoy, or the parts that could be better. Maybe they're
because we want to see them improve.
Yes.
We want to see them improve. And why? Not for selfish reasons, because I don't give a crap about going into my career. You know that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, I am being not selfish in any way by bringing this stuff up and being passionate about it either. I'm thinking about my fellow gamer and how the game should improve overall to help the world of gamers.
Exactly.
Right? Like, that should be black and white and easy to understand from, like, the way we talk on here.
Don't think about it in terms of company profits. Why? That should not be our concern. That should not be the concern of them making money. I mean, yes, it's a product they need to sell, so they're going to make money on their investment, whatever. Sure, we can acknowledge that, but also saying these are bad practices, and they absolutely are. Again, I'm glad to see more people jumping on board. A few years too late, but join the movement and speak out on it. With that being said, I am still enjoying 2K23. I do have positive impressions of it. I've shared it the last couple of weeks. I continue to share it on Twitter and in our forum, and I will continue to play it. And the only time I've put 2K14 in over the past week, Derek, is to get some screenshots for a future article. That's all. I mean, I will go back to 2K14 at some point, I'm sure, and enjoy it again, because I do have that save that I'm enjoying so much. But right now, yeah, I'm running to 2K23. But that being said, this stuff, the patching the issues without patching problems that affect them without fixing issues that affect the gamer, the whole lack of goodwill in the pushy microtransactions and whatnot, that stuff needs to be called out. We're always going to call it out. The community should be the same. And if you're trying to shut down that criticism, you are part of the problem.
Yeah, and I received a nice comment. I wanted to give a shout out to Nader on YouTube. I had posted some of my team footage on the NLSC channel and whatnot, and he said that he liked my gameplay. That the gameplay, like he likes the way I play basketball on the virtual hardwood.
I saw that.
He said hardwood and whatnot. And I just want to let you know that I really appreciate those comments. And when I put that footage together on YouTube for my channel or the NLSC channel, I want it to be something that you guys can enjoy, and maybe something that's different than the norm.
Definitely.
As well. And, I'm thinking about Roger and Nate when I upload footage, because I know they watch the videos. I'm thinking about Nader. I'm thinking about, Looky the Gamer and whatnot, who's been commenting on videos. Like, I think about the audience, and I just want to put something good out there for you to enjoy. And as you know, and we've talked about this before, one of my goals is always to show off the game the best I possibly can. That's what I try to do with those My Team videos and whatnot. So thank you for that comment, and, thank you for supporting the NLSC.
No, we've got some great supporters of our content, commenting on videos and responding to us on Twitter or posting in the forum, commenting on articles and whatnot. And yeah, we really do appreciate it, because we really appreciate that interaction. And actually, to that point, Derek, how about we open up the mailbag?
To the mailman, the pump fake. What an unbelievable dunk!
So as you said, Derek, threw out a couple of mailbag prompts this week. The first one is related to microtransactions. You said, have you gone online and tried to build a player on 2K23? If so, do you feel the process is fair to the gamer? Prices to upgrade, time it takes to grind? Are you having fun? What do you like and not like? And yes, obviously a lot of people have been speaking out on this. We've just had our say. So let's open up the mailbag here and see the first response. And that comes from TG So Good, The Goods. Shout out to you as always. Fantastic modder, content creator in our community. You definitely have to buy VC if you want to have even a decent player, not to mention looking generic. I like the city itself. I like the theatre for instant matchmaking, but not sure about all of the quests. Also adds, VC does seem pricey. Actually bought some, but it goes very quickly. And yes, I actually had a look at the prices the other day. The top pack for 450,000 VC is 164 Australian dollars, which I think is about 120 or so US, or about that. I have to double check that. But again, that's more than twice the price of the game to get enough VC to upgrade a player to 99 overall. So it's definitely pricey. But there are good aspects. The theater is a pretty good feature for having squads and for different events and double XP and things like that. So interesting that, I'm not a big fan of the city for all the extracurricular stuff, but I also understand that people like it for that MMORPG aspect of it.
Yeah, shout out to TG So Good, who does a lot for the NLSC community as far as tutorials.
Yes.
And whatnot. And then, he also releases some of his own mods, and he's consistently streaming and on the mic and whatnot and trying to improve the community's experience with the game. So we really appreciate you, and we appreciate your support of our content as well. He mentions the quests, which I think is absolutely ridiculous and doesn't belong anywhere near a basketball game. And I've seen some of the quests, and they're completely mindless and just something straight out of an RPG. Right. So, and from what I can gather, the point totals the VC accrual that you get from that is very minimal, and it just feels like grinding and a waste of time. But yeah, he's right. It's the VC doesn't go far. And that's what I keep hearing everybody say. So even if they do shell out money and they put a bunch more money towards the game and whatnot, they can't get far with the amount of VC that they buy. So they feel almost compelled to buy more or spend time on the game not enjoying it because their player doesn't play the way they want. So it's troubling.
It is. And the quests are a lot of work to get something like 750 VC, which doesn't go far at all. I mean, they've talked about, people have pointed out on Twitter that to even just upgrade a single rating at a certain point, it'll cost $40,000 to go from, say, 40,000 VC rather, to go from, say, a 75 to an 80 or whatever. It is a very expensive upgrade. So when you're putting a lot of time into running around these BS quests and getting 750 VC that won't even get you one rating point higher, that's a problem.
If you're putting that much money into a game, you should automatically be allowed to re-sculpt your character whenever you want.
Exactly.
You should be able to reallocate those points and start from scratch anytime you want. And it is a damn shame that they don't allow that. But hey, why would they want that? They want you to have to either start over or keep pumping money into the same character.
I guess if you need to respec your character, you're just ass at the game.
Yes, apparently. I can't believe how often I see that. Just drives me nuts.
At Philly, I'm 2K, shout out to you as always. I don't play my career, but I know about prices to upgrade your player. They are very high, but nothing will happen because 2K wants the money. Also considering that some have to make new builds after patches, so once again, money for 2K to upgrade your player. And yes, respecking, and if they patch something and the builds are suddenly broken, then you've already spent that time, or indeed money, or both, to upgrade your player, and they mess up the build with a patch, or they try and rebalance things with a patch, then, you're SOL.
Right, exactly. And that comes back to the whole thing where, we used to get a complete game on release, right? Or at least that's what we would be.
What a concept.
With. The game cycle, right? But now we're at the point where, let's say you do build a guard, right? And you try to give them a high steal rating because you understood the steal mechanics as they were when the game came out, right? And then suddenly your guard, in one of the big reasons where maybe you wanted to be a pickpocket like Gary Payton or John Stockton, right? All of a sudden they patch out steals and make it incredibly hard, even with a high overall, to get those steals. And now you're like, man, my guy is not as fun as he was at this game's launch, but now I can't do crap about it. See, that's the thing. And that's why it's so frustrating to hear all these stories and see all these things, with every new release of 2K, because I just feel bad for the gamers that have to deal with them.
No, 100%. Next up we have Mahmood, also a modder in our community, of course. The prices are absolutely absurd. There is no way in hell that someone has to buy $100 worth of virtual currency to max out a player after already buying a $70 video game. 2K made an effort this year, but the prices are not optimal, nor are the payouts for quests. Yeah, same thing. It's not that people don't want to put in the time or effort, or they want to have a journey. Again, there's that straw man, you want to be 99 overall on day one. Not at all. We just don't want to have a useless avatar that we need to grind hard to work, to have to enjoy, or pay to actually be competitive.
Right. Shout out to him as well, Mahmood. He actually released a really cool next-gen edit player background for the PC version of the game, so you can really make it look like the next-gen version. And I think that's super cool. And he does a lot of good things with UI and presentation elements each year. So that's good stuff. But yeah, I mean, he's echoing the same stuff that TG So Good basically said. And that's very common in the community right now. They just think it's unfair.
And along those same lines, El Seiko says, the quests are too long, the price to upgrade is too expensive, I'm actually having fun playing career, gameplay is solid. And that's a great point there, is that, again, I've upgraded my player thanks to the pre-order VC, so my player is kind of viable to play online. I've had some fun sessions online, had some fun sessions in the NBA side of gameplay. I'm pretty much only doing it to upgrade my player so I can play online. I'm leaving the NBA, my career, as I said, to 2K14, where I'd like to go back and play through a full career, having already played through 4 full seasons of that. But I'm pretty much only doing that to see the story and to comment on that, and my commentary you've already heard, I don't think much of it, and I will go into that in a written review that's coming shortly. That's the only reason I'm playing NBA Career, but what I have been playing of NBA Career has been, the traditional gameplay experience has been fun, and that's the unfortunate part of it, is that the gameplay, when you're on the sticks, is definitely a lot better than 2K21 and 2K22, in my view. And I know that I had a low opinion of them, so you might say, oh, well, Andrew, that's a low bar, but no, I think it is a very pleasing improvement on the last couple of years, really enjoying the gameplay, but then you get to these predatory mechanics, and that's when it just really detracts from that experience.
Yeah, and I do think that NBA 2K23 is better than 2K22. I said that on a couple of prior shows and whatnot. I'm enjoying my team more on 2K23. I'm enjoying co-op more, etc. So I definitely think they've made some positive changes to the graphics and the gameplay and whatnot, and the offline content in general, giving us even more. I think that's great. But, you had talked about it. You said that you're having fun in, some of your games that you're playing online and everything. But you also had to note that you bought the $100 version to get there. And I think that's part of the problem here, is that people feel like they can't buy the base game anymore.
Exactly.
Just the base game, because you wouldn't have just jumped in with your buddies and been able to play and have fun if you hadn't spent $100 in order to get there. You would have been having to grind or buy VC post-release, and then you'd be spending more anyway. So I think that's the biggest problem here, is people do feel that out of the gate, they have to spend at least $100 to $150 on the game in order to enjoy it. And that's not good.
But speaking of my team, you and I have been having fun with that, and we're not alone. You put out the second question this week. I've been having fun with my team and local co-op on NBA 2K23. What modes and or content have you been enjoying the most on the game? And Leader of the Foot Clan, at aka_Chuck_Cross, shout out to you as always, says, my team is great. And I think it is, apart from the microtransactions and whatnot, which you can avoid. Funnily enough, I feel that my team, at least with the pre-order bonuses, the Ruby Jordan and whatnot, is actually more enjoyable without spending money than my career, which is crazy, because that is the money-making mode, my team. But as far as the gameplay, as far as the different modes on offer within my team, I think it's great.
Right. I had the means to buy the $100 version for the game, right?
Yes.
Like, I had the money to do it. It wasn't going to put me in any financial stress and whatnot. So I did. Now, that put me in a position to jump into my team and have fun right out of the gate, right? However, I want to go back to it again, like the example that we just used. If somebody bought just the base game and they tried to jump into my team, and there would be an uncomfortable grind, their team wouldn't be very good and whatnot, and they'd feel compelled to spend money in order to upgrade that team, right? So, like, I know this is called thinking for the other gamers, right? Which is something we should all be doing. We shouldn't have a selfish approach to gaming, because we want these games to improve and we want them to be fair to everybody. What I'm thinking about is all the people that can't have fun with my team because of the ridiculous pack odds, number one. And if they buy the base game, just how poor their lineup is and what a struggle it is to actually upgrade that lineup just by playing games. Right? So, like, think of your fellow gamer when you're thinking about these modes and these predatory modes and whatnot.
We say it so much that it's not just about the whales. It's not just about the people who have got the means to, if you want to spend $1,000 on my team, I do feel you're part of the problem, or no disrespect. But
there are people who do it.
But there are people. If you can afford it,
team, there's people that spend thousands.
Absolutely,
it's crazy.
If you, I do feel, with all due respect, you are part of the problem if you're doing that. At the same time, if you can afford that and that's how you want to spend your money, and you've got that much disposable income, it is what it is. That is your leisure time. I mean, again, in previous shows we've talked about how not judging people for their habits and saying that, and not calling gaming a form of depression or things like that, and all that other nonsense that we've talked about in recent weeks, those ridiculous sentiments we saw on Twitter the other week. But to be honest, to be fair, if you are spending thousands of dollars on my team and those modes, you are kind of the problem. That's why they are like they are. You're making it profitable. But that is unfortunate.
Yeah, and I am having fun with my team, though. I've been uploading a bunch of footage.
Absolutely.
On Twitter and on YouTube and whatnot. So I recommend anybody try to, especially if you bought the $100 version. I mean, and you're not interested in that My Career scene, or it bums you out or anything like that, jump into my team and try to have some loose, clean, offline fun.
Absolutely.
Because you definitely can.
But it has come to the point where if you want to really enjoy a My Career or My Team out of the box on day one and in that first week, you really do need to get the special editions. Those are what the special editions are for those players, quite frankly. If you're playing the traditional modes and whatnot, playing offline, MyNBA, Play Now, etc., then certainly the standard edition will do you just fine.
Right, exactly.
Next up, we have BB8 Tech Dad at BB8_Tech on Twitter. Shout out to you as always, too. Playing my team and working on rosters and draft classes for my eras. Some surprising and ridiculous errors in rosters. I'm starting with the 91-92 roster. I haven't enjoyed a 2K like this in a long time. Player movement and style are improved, I feel. I feel like this is the first year where you can actually survey the floor and make basketball plays. Players cutting and going to spots on the floor you would expect them to be. It's not perfect, but a surprise. And yeah, again, the gameplay, the bones of the game this year are quite good. But there are those issues with again, not just the microtransactions, of course, which we just touched upon, but of course the roster issues. And I also know, speaking of 1992, I know you have a particular fondness for the 92 Celtics.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, that's Larry Bird's last season in the NBA. And, Parrish and McHale were still on the team, and there was Reggie Lewis, and my favorite player of all time, D. Brown. And whatnot, that. I absolutely love the 91-92 Celtics. What he was talking about as far as running plays and whatnot, I mentioned that on a previous podcast. Actually, I think it was our first impressions podcast. That one of the best things about NBA 2K23, and where it probably beats every game that was ever made for the series, is the fact that when you run plays, players go into motion immediately and they act realistically according to the play, whether it be where they're, if they're actually using a pick, they really use it, they move to the spots on the floor where they should be and whatnot. And even quick plays where you do something like you see me do it on my team footage, where you select, you do positional play calling and you say cut to basket. So let's say for Desmond Mason or whatever, he will get behind his defender and whatnot, and he will, make a hard move towards the basket, and you can throw him a lob or throw him a regular pass. And that's one aspect that I wish was in NBA 2K17, which might be my favorite NBA 2K of all time. The players don't go into motion fast enough on 2K17. You have to be in a specific spot on the floor for them to go into motion most of the time. When you do quick play calling, oftentimes the players get caught up on other players, and then by the time they actually run their, I don't know how else to word it, their route and whatnot, and you pass it to him, the defender's right on him because they were just getting caught up the entire way. So definitely one of the best parts of NBA 2K23 is the play calling.
And that kind of leads us into a quick question from Knowledge Bone at The Harassment on Twitter. Shout out to you as always. How have you been liking 2K23? And obviously we've been talking about our impressions the last couple of weeks. But once again, I'm still really enjoying the game a couple of weeks in. I had my gripes about some of the legacy issues and some other issues with the with VC and whatnot. But no, I do feel quite positive to the core experience of 2K23. I do like quite a lot.
For me, I like it in my team gameplay with the players that I have because of the $100 version. And I'm enjoying local co-op with my brother. And, we're playing a MyNBA and whatnot. But anytime the game gets into a competitive head-to-head atmosphere, like my brothers and I try to play against each other, the game just has a lot of issues that present themselves, mostly related to skating. Being impossible to slide your feet and stay in front of a skating offensive player, and you're also skating yourself and whatnot. And there's still some of those suction issues that pop out, especially when you're playing head to head and everything. And I feel like playing head to head in a competitive atmosphere brings out the worst in the game. So we haven't been able to get into that. But if you're asking if I'm going to get my money's worth with this title, with the way that we are playing, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get my money's worth with the game.
Me too. I feel the same way. We have, next up we have Philly I'm 2K again. I love MyNBA Eras. It's not perfect, not all players added, and some lack of detail, but it still overwhelms me. You can add the players and correct tendencies, etc. That's what I plan to do as well. And of course we know that Philly does a lot of work with draft classes and rosters and whatnot. And yeah, MyNBA Eras, despite some of the issues, I do have to correct myself. The right Clippers jersey is in the for the 90s is actually in MyNBA Eras, but it's for some reason it's not selectable in Play Now, and I think that's an oversight that some of those new jerseys have not been added as selectable jerseys in Play Now. That was a mistake.
Right, and there's still a ton of courts that are wrong, obviously.
Yes.
In the MyNBA Eras rosters, and the good thing is that the community has kind of jumped on this, as somebody else pointed out, and a lot of those courts and the jerseys, if they're missing and whatnot, are downloadable. So you can, like, the community put them up on community share and you can grab them. So that's obviously, kudos to the community again for jumping all over that. All I'll say is good luck. If you're really trying to edit these Eras rosters and you're trying to make them accurate, I'm not going to this is not exaggerating. There's thousands of flaws between all three rosters. And, you're going to have to create a lot of players if you want to fill out the rosters correctly. You're going to have to work hard to make them look at least close to their real life counterpart. There's a ton of tendency edits that need to be done. Obviously people could do like a DNA copy and paste and rush it and whatnot. But if you want to do it right, I look at those errors as thousands of hours of a project.
Oh, definitely.
In order to like truly make it an accurate roster. So I'll say good luck to anybody who's tackling that.
Next up we have Lil Dino 713 at Lil Dino 713_2K on Twitter. Shout out to you. My team and my career. Mainly my team though. Clutch time and triple threat have been the modes for me. Yes, I've really been enjoying clutch time, getting a bit of clutch time and triple threat as well. Just those quick games. If you've just got half an hour to play, jumping on there and playing a few triple threat games. I've also been playing through a bit of domination as well, Derek, and the challenges, the spotlight challenges to go through season mode. Do you do anything with the season rewards? Have you been paying attention to that, or are you just going through domination?
How could I pass up my high overall Bill Cartwright?
That's true. Yes,
season awards, Andrew.
That's true. Yeah.
You know me. I love me some Bill Cartwright. No, I go in there, pretty much every day to see if I unlocked anything in that section, and I've unlocked a bunch of stuff, throughout. Because I've played many of the domination challenges so far and whatnot. Nothing really great. I am anxious to use the Fred Jones that I just got, an Amethyst 90 overall.
He's fun.
Have you gotten him already?
Yeah, he's the 10. He's playing the first 10 games of my team, and you unlock him. Yeah, he's definitely a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to use him. I actually put him in the starting lineup, and I'm having Desmond Mason come off the bench next game, just because I want to use him. So that should be a lot of fun, and I love using new players in the domination games and whatnot, because you can really bring out the best in them during those challenges. So yeah. I have been checking like all the season awards and everything, and I actually just picked up an 82 overall Jason Williams using some of my team points. So I'm going to have him slotted in at point guard, and even though his signature shot is super inaccurate, I'm going to try to have some fun with him with ball handling and throwing lobs and whatnot.
Soul Controller 7 at Soul Controller 7 on Twitter. Shout out to you. 2K is usually a decent game for offline play, but online will always be a challenge. And yeah, and I've been getting into a bit of online play with the guys. Definitely a lot more fun playing with a couple of friends in the 3v3 Pro-Am. And yes, there's some frustration because of the aforementioned issues with balance and people paying or grinding hard those first couple of weeks and getting these souped up players. And yes, the dribble fatigue not working as well as we hoped it would to curb dribble spam. But there was still some fun moments in that, a lot of fun moments, and we picked up our first win. I'll put up that footage on our YouTube channel as well. I will say that there's a lot of people. I showed you a screenshot, Derek. There's a lot of people who have just gotten by the content filter with the community uploads. There's flat out porn on there, and on the community uploads. So
right. Andrew won't be uploading any boobs to the NLSC YouTube channel. Just to let you guys know, like, there's not going to be footage
that's
of
the thing. It's like you do something cool, but it's like that you're playing on someone's court, and their jerseys and court have a a topless woman on them. And it's like, well, I can't put this on
Yeah,
YouTube.
that's what you showed me. I was like, oh yeah, this is. I don't know how that got past the filter.
And look, I'm not a prude or anything, but the point is, this is a game that's supposed to be all ages. And again, you get this footage, but you can't do anything with it because some kids have decided it's going to be a laugh to put, adult film stars and in various states of undress on the court. And again, they'll patch out the MyNBA Eras rosters is quick smart, but they're not doing anything about the content filter. So yeah, whatever. But yes, the online scene is always going to be hit and miss. But I loved getting on there with the guys. It was great to get on there and be on the chat, in the party chat, and just be joking around and whatnot. And it's all that shared experience, as you know, Derek, playing with other people, even if you have some issues with the game, riffing on it and making jokes about a bad play or whatever, or something look weird. It can take the sting out of some of the disappointing moments as well.
Yeah, it's what my brother and I live for. That's what we do, when we play in MyNBA, or depending on the 2K version, My League, or we play in old season or franchise mode and NBA Live and whatnot. And, we jump on co-op and everything. It's just that shared experience that's so fun.
And finally, we have Patrick J. Maloney at PMaloney1520 on Twitter. Shout out to you. Loving all the content in my team, trying to level up with different lineups without paying money. MyNBA Eras is an absolute game changer for me. While not perfect, it's a mode that I will play all year. Yeah, again, there's definitely something to keep us hooked in 2K23, and the underlying gameplay experience has been fun. So yeah, I had high hopes for 2K23. I let my hopes get up for this year's game, and so far so good. Again, we've had a lot of complaints this episode, a lot of valid criticism. I shouldn't say complaints, Derek. I should say we've had a lot of valid criticism this episode, but the underlying point is that we feel that way because we see a lot of good in 2K23. And those aspects really detract from what is otherwise a very fun game. And yeah, I can again relate to going no money spent in my team and MyNBA Eras for those problems. Still a lot of great work there. So yeah, clearly we're not alone in enjoying the game while also having some valid criticisms.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I'm like I said, I'm going to get my money's worth out of NBA 2K23, right? But I am sticking up for the gamers who are not getting their money's worth. I'm sticking up for the gamers who are being driven to those modes and who want to play those modes rightfully so in a game that was made in 2022, and they're being hit with all of this predatory BS, right? Those are the people that I think we need to stick up for. You and I, our gaming habits, our gaming experience, all of that stuff is going to be completely different than so many people out there. But the point is the game should be fair to all.
Exactly.
The game should be fair to everybody, and it's not.
I mean, hey, we haven't been jumping on Parsec recently. We've just been playing 2K23, you with your brothers and me by myself. So that's how much we've been enjoying 2K23. We haven't been jumping on Parsec to play kids sports basketball.
Well, we wouldn't probably play that anyway, but I do miss the Parsec sessions, to be completely honest with you. I definitely want to get on again and play some NBA Jam on Fire Edition because it's a completely different experience than playing, NBA 2K23, and I'd like to connect more with people on Discord.
Absolutely. And we still need to do that 2v2 with Nate and Roger and get them back on the show. So maybe we can set that up in the near future.
Yeah, I'd love to have them back on. I talked to Roger recently about that, and they're both ecstatic to, get back on the show and talk hoops with us. So, we'll have to make that happen soon.
So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, thank you for all the responses to the mailbag questions. As always, great to hear from our listeners, Derek.
Yeah, you guys are the best. Honestly, everybody that responds to the mailbag prompts that I put out, everybody that comments on the podcast on YouTube or, the videos that I put up or what Andrew puts up, anybody that interacts with Andrew's tweets about his articles, etc. We really appreciate you, and I think that we have an awesome basketball gaming community at the NLSC.
Hear, hear. With that being said, that has brought us to the end of this week's show. As always, we thank you for tuning in. We invite you to join us again next week, either on the NLSC, NBA-live.com of course, our YouTube channel, or your podcast app of choice. In the meantime, please connect with us on social media. That's where you can get in touch with us and also stay up to date with all of our content. To that end, Derek, I'll throw it over to you to plug those handles.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me on Twitter, where I'm the most active, at D4384 and at D43G. I'm also on YouTube, D43. Keep an eye on the content that I'm uploading to the NLSC YouTube as well. And I am on the NLSC forums as well, D43.
I am Andrew in our forum, and Andrew NLSC on Twitter. The NLSC is on Twitter and Facebook at the NLSC. Our Instagram is NLSC Basketball. Our aforementioned YouTube channel is youtube.com/NBA Live Series Center. And of course, keep it locked to the NLSC itself, NBA-Live.com, for everything we do for basketball video games. So, thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Derek.
Go get buckets, everyone.